All right, so welcome again, Sally, to the Zoom room. Thanks for joining. So I think let's just dive into our Power Hour session. We'll have a look at today's teaching, and then we'll go into meditation and do some reading on the lesson and discussion on the lesson after that. So just share my screen with you. Give me a moment. Okay, so all right. Okay, can you see that okay?
Yeah, it needs to be a bit bigger though.
Okay, let's just see if we can accomplish that. Okay, so if you want to read the quote, just to kick us off.
You lower it down a bit so I can see it. The day I understood everything was the day I stopped trying to figure everything out. The day I knew peace was the day I let everything go.
So it's a great quote, just telling us about the relationship between letting go of our own understanding of life and peace of mind. So the workbook lessons and text are designed to bring about just this undoing of your own, in other words, your ego's understanding of everything, so you can open your mind to the Holy Spirit's reinterpretation of everything you think you understand. And that's all that forgiveness is. Yeshua calls it forgiveness. We call it letting go in our alternative art of letting go language. It's the only thing will inevitably help you feel more peaceful. So if you're not peaceful, the one thing you can do is to let go of thoughts, emotions, ultimately of a self-concept that is disturbing your peace. But be sure that you're truly forgiving or letting go, which means that you're not trying to pardon sins that you think are real, but merely recognizing their unreality from the start, as Yeshua explains in this passage from the text, section 6 of chapter 30, called the justification for forgiveness. So he says, I'm going to read that. Pardon is always justified.
Pardon is always justified. It has a sure foundation. You do not let go of what is impossible to let go of, nor overlook a real attack that calls for punishment. Awakening does not lie in being asked to make unnatural responses that are inappropriate to what is real. Instead, it merely asks that you respond appropriately to what is not real by not perceiving what has not occurred.
Any thoughts on that?
It just makes me laugh. It's like the dreams that we believe and the knots we get ourselves into when it's just an illusion.
By not perceiving what has not occurred, which is a lot easier said than done, but it's just to remind yourself that pardon is always justified, because what you're pardoning is unreal, so it hasn't really happened, and that's the basis for true forgiveness. So therefore you need only recognize the unreality of all error to practice radical forgiveness or letting go. That's what radical forgiveness or letting go means. You just say in your mind, this isn't real. So it simply overlooks all apparent sins that it sees as ephemeral errors that don't really exist. So someone said or done something, you've said or done something, the Christ mind simply looks on that and says, this isn't true. This doesn't really exist. It's never really happened. So that radical forgiveness helps you correctly perceive that there is really nothing to forgive. And that's the process. The more you do it, the more you come to the awareness that, yes, everything's an illusion. So therefore, I don't need to forgive it. If it's an illusion in my mind to start with, I don't need to let it go, do I? I would just perceive it correctly from the start. So forgiveness is the process of restoring your mind to an awareness of its true nature as unconditional love, which by definition, that's why it's called unconditional, doesn't acknowledge any conditions for love to occur. Whereas the ego has always got conditions, hasn't it? It says, well, if someone does this or this, then I can love, but otherwise I can't. Unconditional simply says there are no conditions because love is. And so you have to then ignore the illusion. So when people say, unconditional love, I don't think they really realize the extent of what that means. Unconditional love means you must let go of your belief in time and space and all the conditions that seem to occur in time and space that make your love conditional. So on the other hand, the ego's plan for forgiveness always makes errors real and permanent in your perception, which is the definition of sin. It means that the errors can't be overlooked. So that's what the ego is always trying to do. Make the error real, judge it as real, and there's a perception of a fault, so yours or someone else's fault that is permanent, and it's punishable. Oh, there's already it's punishable as well by someone who you would then define as your image of God. Hi, Aurelie.
Hiya.
Hello.
Yeah, welcome again.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we started the session a few minutes ago. We're just into today's teaching. So on forgiveness. It's about different kinds of forgiveness. So
I was just reading with your message. Actually, I didn't have time to go through it.
Yeah, well, we're reading it now. So
okay, perfect.
So, on the other hand, the ego's plan for forgiveness always makes errors real and permanent in your perception. That's the definition of sin. An error made real, permanent, and punishable. That would be my definition for sin. Error made real, permanent, and punishable. And that's what the ego is always trying to do. So this in turn leads to the ego's perception that completely pardoning someone's plainly visible sins is impossible self-deception. And the options that it offers instead of radical forgiveness are two options. So pseudo-forgiveness, or what Yeshua calls forgiveness to destroy in the Song of Prayer, which we read recently. So the pseudo-forgiveness is the idea that as the pious person who's in the right, you self-righteously pardon this, quote, sinner, because that's what a good person should do. So that's the kind of forgiveness that many sort of traditional Christians, churchgoers would engage in. Well, we're told we must forgive, but in our perception, this person is a sinner. And they're damned to hell anyway, but we must forgive them. Because that's what a good Christian should do. So it puts you above that other person in your mind. There's a clear, hierarchy in your mind. You're superior to them, and that creates separation in your mind. So yes, you're saying that's forgiveness to destroy, because it destroys love, it destroys peace of mind, destroys happiness ultimately. So it's not really forgiveness at all. It's actually judgment in disguise. And then you have compassionate, or what I call mock forgiveness. So you try and understand the person did the best they could given their state of consciousness at the time, and you try hard not to judge them for their mistake. So you go, well, that person there were reasons why they behaved that way. They were under stress, and they've had a difficult life. They had a bad childhood, whatever. Therefore, I soften my judgment. Understand that they've had a tough time, and so there's maybe a softening of judgment, but there's still a judgment that what has happened is real.
And
So
that's
both
the only forgiveness I've been practicing, because that is the only one I knew so far up until now.
Yeah. So it's what most people would call commonly understood forgiveness is this kind of compassionate forgiveness.
Oh.
And it doesn't really work because the problem is you haven't really let it go. It's still real there. You've just kind of softened your judgment. It's still in your mind. It's still a problem, and then somehow you have to not judge, but you've made it real. So it's why people struggle with forgiveness. Right?
So there's no need for forgiveness then? Is that what you're saying? Or
well, wait, there is, as long as you make things real. If you're engaging in any of this kind of forgiveness or not forgiving at all, just outright condemning and judging, then there is a need for forgiveness. But it's the right kind of, only the correct kind of forgiveness, which we call radical or true forgiveness, or letting go will work. So let's look at the other ones first, because it's quite useful to understand how the ego works with its approach to forgiveness. So both these approaches miss the mark of radical forgiveness for different reasons. So it won't work to free you from all suffering. So the first approach I call pseudo forgiveness, or what Yeshua calls forgiveness to destroy, in the Song of Prayer we've recently read, because it's really judgment and condemnation masquerading as forgiveness, designed to reinforce the separate and superior identity of the person bestowing the forgiveness, without any genuine intent on his or her part to let go of the judgment and condemnation. So there's no genuine, I want to let this go. I really want love. It's not really forgiveness at all, which always entails the letting go of the negative thought and emotion in the mind of the person forgiving, but it's judgmental condemnation in thin disguise, and just masquerading as forgiveness. And this is what often passes for forgiveness in formal Christian circles. I forgive you, you terrible sinner, that kind of thing. Not forgiveness at all. And because healing happens through the unification of seemingly separate minds, pseudo forgiveness can't ever heal anyone. But rather, it reinforces the ego's separate identity in the minds of both the person who's pseudo forgiving and the person on whom this pseudo forgiveness is so graciously bestowed. As the imagined superiority of the person who's pseudo forgiving over the quote sinner will be strengthened in his mind, while the sinner will sense that she's really being condemned by the other person, will usually react to the pseudo forgiving person based on her supposed guilt in a defensive, angry, or fearful way, because no one likes to be judged, and so we pick that up in someone's attitude towards us, and then that strengthens her false self-concept of being a guilty sinner in a sense of being separate from the pseudo forgiver. So pseudo forgiveness, or forgiveness to destroy, destroys your peace of mind, your happiness, and any love between people, which is why Yeshua calls it that, forgiveness to destroy. It's clearly a device for separation, maintaining separation and the separate self-concept of the people involved, rather than any kind of letting go of that and unification of the mind. So, I mean, it's pretty obvious. You'll almost certainly be willing to accept that pseudo forgiveness is false and never going to work to free anyone's mind from sin and guilt. But you may not be so convinced about the second type of forgiveness the ego engages in, which I call compassionate or mock forgiveness. So you might say, after all, what's wrong with compassion? People say, well, compassion's good, isn't it? That works. We told many teachers and teachings say, you need to be more compassionate, kinder. What's wrong with that? So surely this is a spiritual quality and one we should be trying to cultivate. Okay, this is where the ego, which remember, it's just the belief in separation, gets really devious and cunning, because on the surface of it, this seems to be perfectly reasonable. But just be willing to scratch below the shiny surface of this veneer, and you'll see that beneath it lies the same rusted core. It characterizes all the ego's beliefs. So you might go, well, how so? Because compassionate or mock forgiveness still assumes that whatever has seemingly happened to upset you has really happened. And now its negative effects in your mind must be mitigated by trying to understand why the other person did what they did. Okay? So it's an attempt to try and explain it from that other person's point of view. And because you have an understanding of maybe why they did what they did, then you don't judge them as much. Probably still judge them, because if you've made it real in your mind. So this all assumes that the person really did do it, and makes the situation and the characters participating in the situation real to the compassionate forgiver, who will then still have a sense of being a separate person, living in quite a hostile world, trying and struggling to forgive what is seemingly unforgivable. And this is a lot of people's experience with forgiveness. It's like, I just can't do this. It's too difficult. So even though the compassionate forgiver is trying to lessen the negative impact of the seeming offense in his mind, which is surely a step in the right direction, if he or she still believes the offense was really committed, then the world and the person's separate identity operating in it remain real to that person. Do you see that? Because we're still believing that it was really done. So it's really a halfway house between pseudo forgiveness and the true or radical forgiveness that Yeshua is teaching us in the Course in Miracles, which he summarizes beautifully in today's quote. So let's just go back there. I'll ask Aurelie to read it this time. So pardon is always justified. You want to read that, Aurelie?
Oh yeah, sorry. Pardon. It's funny. I was reading it before on the phone, and I was like, "What does that even mean?"
Well, we'll unpack it.
Yeah. Pardon is always justified. It has a sure foundation. You do not let go of what is impossible to let go of, not overlook a real attack that calls for punishment. Awakening does not lie in being asked to make unnatural responses that are inappropriate to what is real. It merely asks that you respond appropriately to what is not real by not perceiving what has not occurred. So does that mean that everything that happened was an illusion I created? Is that what basically it means?
It hasn't really happened. It happened in a dream, which isn't true. It isn't real. So why are you judging it as real in any way, shape, or form when it never really happened? See, I mean, a dream is a dream. It's just this is all a projection of mind gone mad, which has the seeming reality, the illusion of reality, but not absolute reality. It's always shifting and changing. So he's asking us to perceive it correctly and not to perceive what has not occurred. So why are you thinking about the past when the past isn't real, when the past hasn't really happened? And this is the way to clear your mind entirely of the ego. It's the only way, because the other approaches make the ego and the world that it's invented real, don't they? So you're never going to escape from it. The best compassionate forgiveness can do is make you feel a little bit better, a bit less judgmental, but you're still stuck in the idea that you're a separate self trying to forgive all these insane, cruel things in the world and not doing a very good job of it.
So the real forgiveness will be to forgive yourself for creating this whole dream, this illusion.
The real forgiveness is denying. I mean, what does it mean to forgive yourself? The real forgiveness is saying, this never happened. Whatever you're perceiving in this world, to apply the idea that this never happened, this isn't real. to it. That's the correction. Now you're training your mind through that process that it's not real. Do you see? Forgiveness is the mind training necessary, situation by situation, to train your mind to believe this idea, to accept this idea that actually nothing here is real.
Mm.
And you do that in specific situations as they occur. It's especially useful if something really triggers you. You mentally and emotionally invested in it, to then deny it and say this isn't real, because it denies something that you believed in quite strongly. And so you deny then the belief in that, which is part of your ego self-concept. So forgiveness is the process of learning that the world isn't real, the process of learning then what is real and who you really are, because they go together. As you let go of your illusions, then the truth reveals itself. So even though with compassionate forgiveness, the compassionate giver is trying to lessen the negative impact of the seeming offense in his or her mind, which is a step in the right direction. If you still believe in the offense and that it was really committed, then the world and your separate identity that are operating in it remain real. Do you see that? You haven't actually questioned its reality. You've just tried to mitigate the effects of it by softening your judgment. So it's this halfway house between pseudo forgiveness and the true or radical forgiveness that Yeshua teaches in the Course in Miracles, which he summarized in that quote about pardon. It's a good starting point, but it will not take you all the way home to the transcendent dimension of reality that Yeshua calls the kingdom of heaven, because it still makes the world and the sense of separate self, that is the ego, real in your mind. As long as those are real in your mind, then the kingdom of heaven and transcending this world will be impossible for you. So that brings us to radical forgiveness, which gets to the root of the problem, and that's where it comes from. Radix, it's the Latin word from which the word radical is derived, and it means root. So getting to the very root, the core of the problem, by simply denying that anything other than unconditional love is real. Okay? So the problem is we've believed in what is false. We believed in an illusion of separation. And the only way out of that is to deny it. You must deny what denies the denial of truth. See? So if you deny the denial of truth, then you're back in truth. So if we look at the descent into hell, we've done a crazy thing, seemingly. We've seemingly thought of separation. That thought has invented a whole alternate reality for us. We've come down the ladder of separation, and now we believe we're victims of a cruel external world. It's beset with pain, sin, sickness, aging, suffering, and death. And we think this is all very real, and it's very threatening to us. And yes, just saying the only way out of this is to recognize that all of it is untrue. So whatever's being shown to you in the dream, the Holy Spirit's reinterpretation of it is the same. One reinterpretation. This is not true. And something else comes up, and you see the guilt, and you see the sin, and you see the hatred, and you see the attack in the mirror of the world. And the Holy Spirit says to you, but it's still not true. All of it's not true. And so you're training your mind systematically and progressively in these specific instances that are showing up in your dream, ultimately to believe that the thought of separation that led to the entire world is not true. And that's how you finally learn the truth again, that only perfect oneness, love, oneness, unconditional love, we call it, is true. Only that is true. And nothing else is true. And that's the simple teaching that he's giving us. So let's go back here. So if any word, action, or behavior that's seemingly been said or done is unloving, it is unreal and has no existence or effect. This is the Holy Spirit's perfect logic. It cancels out all errors and helps you recognize that you and the seeming, quote, other person you're forgiving are not and never have been separate. You're not really forgiving another person. What you're forgiving is a projection of the idea of separation, which is false. You see that? You're letting go of this idea in your mind that separation is real and therefore has these effects which you are perceiving. And so it's correcting it at the root. It's going to the very core of the problem, which is your belief in another awareness, in a separate self, another awareness, and correcting it there and saying, no, there is no other awareness. There is only love. So only radical forgiveness with the help of the Holy Spirit, which remember is just the remembrance of perfect unconditional love. So it's the part of your mind that remembers the state of unconditional love, connects you with it, reminds you of it constantly. And that part will return your mind fairly obviously to a state of unconditional love. You know, the memory of unconditional love will ultimately restore your mind to that state and that state alone. So that's all the Holy Spirit is. It's the remembrance or the memory of it that you remember in the specific instances when it's required. So it's required when you forget it and you're believing in something else. So it will return this remembrance, the Holy Spirit will return your mind to a state of unconditional love in which you realize that you and everyone and everything else that seems to have a separate form in this world are really one and the same pure formless awareness of perfect love. And so that's the point of forgiveness, is to let go of all the ideas of separation and accept the simple truth that we are all one. The same awareness. So there's only one awareness in the world. One awareness that exists. And no other awareness. And therein lies our peace. Therein lies the peace of God, it's been called, that surpasses all understanding. It actually doesn't surpass your understanding, but it's not an intellectual understanding. It's a more deep experiential knowing understanding. You can only go so far to understand this with the intellectual mind. Okay, so any comments or questions about that teaching on the 3 levels of forgiveness? Does it make some sense?
Yeah. Mm.
The reason why I've done it is because so often we might be thinking we're forgiving. Let's say we're doing compassionate forgiveness. We're thinking that's forgiveness, but it's not actually. We're not actually applying the Course's teaching by doing it.
Yeah, I actually forgot about this one pure formless awareness of perfect love. That's what I forgot. That's why I created this illusion.
That's what we all did. Yeah, we forgot.
But it's co-created, right? It's co-created because I didn't create it alone, right? Otherwise, it's co-creation in the dynamic of a family, right?
Well, it's the ego mind. So the ego is a thought system that the mind is participating in. So as well, and so we all co-created this world out of our split awareness, out of our split mind, thinking that we could somehow do a better job than God.
But this situation happened in order for us to remember who we are, basically. Is that what this happened?
Yeah, that's the spiritual interpretation of it. It happened because you need to remember the truth of who you are, and now you get to see in the mirror, you get to see the obstacles, the blocks to that awareness, and to then let them go. So the only purpose of the world is that process of letting go, of forgiveness, that reveals the true self. The world in itself has no purpose whatsoever.
Mm.
You see that?
It sounds so easy the way you put it and say it.
Well, it's simple.
It is simple. You just have
Yes,
to
she says
apply
this is
and
a very
practice
simple
it.
course. It's very simple. The idea is simple, but to apply it in practice is the challenge,
Yeah.
because apparently stuff is real here. Seemingly.
Yeah, it feels
You're perceiving it, and you've
really in
got
your life
stuff going
experience.
on in your life, and there's people and there's situations you got to deal with, and it all seems to be real. And so you have to constantly remind yourself that it's unreal, that you're living in a dream world, in which nothing is real, and that there is this transcendent reality that's outside of the dream world, where none of this means anything. If it doesn't mean anything in transcendent terms and transcendent reality, then it has no meaning. That's what he's saying. There is no meaning. Nothing I see means anything. So why am I giving it a meaning? This is what the ego's done. It's projected all of this out, invented an illusion, and now it's got our minds attached to the various meanings that we've given it.
Mm.
Which is why he starts the workbook with meaning. So nothing I see means anything. And then goes on from there. I've given everything I see all the meaning it has for me. And the first sort of 15 lessons, I think 10 of them are about meaning, with meaning in them, because it's critical. The meaning you give it, the interpretation of reality is the meaning you give it. That is what makes it real to you or not.
Mm.
And so that's why he starts with meaning, because that's where the rubber meets the road. If you could really apply nothing I see means anything to your life, you would be enlightened, perfectly enlightened. You'd be home.
Sorry, what did you say? Nothing I see.
Nothing I see means anything. It's lesson number one.
Yeah.
Nothing I see. If you could really apply that,
Yeah.
then there would be you wouldn't need to practice. You wouldn't need a workbook. Nothing I see means, okay, I get it. If you got it, you wouldn't need the course.
Yeah,
You wouldn't
exactly.
need to practice.
Yeah.
Because you'd already understand. He says you don't need to practice what you already understand.
Yeah.
So we need forgiveness, because we don't understand, because we get confused, because we've forgotten the truth.
Yeah.
And we believe the illusion instead. We believe in the lie. And the lie is everywhere around us. As Morpheus says in the Matrix is everywhere. It's in use the church. It's when you go to church. It's when you pay your taxes. It's everywhere around you, but you can't really see it. It's because it's like it seems to be reality. It's like asking the fish what water is. Fish doesn't know what water is, because that's just what it is. That's its accepted reality. It doesn't know that that's a reality and there's something else, another reality called air. It doesn't know that unless it jumps and then it goes, oh, what's that? And then briefly it would free itself. So that by that analogy, we need to become flying fish and jump out into the this transcendent reality, have these experiences, realize that the water, this sort of default reality we seem to live in of time and space, isn't real by that standard, because there's another reality we've experienced. And every time we forgive and we deny the reality of the dream, in our analogy, deny the reality of the water, you're jumping out and you're going into another transcendent reality, the air, in the analogy of the flying fish, and experiencing and going, oh wow, this is much lighter, freer, less dense. I quite like this. Maybe I could stay here. And so you're training your mind that there is another reality and another awareness within it. Okay, so any other thoughts, comments, questions on this teaching, on the quote?
I went through the descent into hell yesterday, and I used my letting go process to let go of all the aspects of it. It was really good. I thought, right, I've cracked it now. Life's going to be really easy now.
So you looked at like guilt and sin, and
Yeah, I used EAM to release all aspects that are on that sheet. And yeah, I released them for the imaginary collective. And yeah, I thought, yeah,
I've done it. I'm enlightened. Well, the challenge with the ego is it's very persistent. So we come back into the reality. You know, we're still swimming in the water, and then it seems to be real, and it's very easy to get sucked into that reality and start believing in the dream and responding as though it's real.
It's strange because I know it's not real intellectually, but there are a few physical things that keep calling me that are kind of, no, it's not real, but it's there and I'm experiencing it. And yeah, it's fascinating.
Well, it's a very deep-seated dream. We've gone to great lengths. Ego's gone to great lengths to ensure that we will never awaken, that we will be lost in the dream forever.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, what a mind job. Just look at
It's a big realization. Yeah, it's
what we've done. My goodness, we've invented an entire world, a universe, an alternate reality to convince ourselves that we really are separate, that we have a separate self, and you know, I'm this separate self, and that's just how it is. That's the reality of it.
But why so like it feels like why so not so many people have actually woken up to this reality or to understanding this truth?
Well, because it's difficult. You're born into the reality, you're born into the matrix. You get conditioned from a young age that this is all real. Everyone tells you that it's real.
Yeah.
Everyone treats it as real.
Yeah.
You go to school, they don't tell you it's not real.
Yeah.
All of your conditioning and programming is designed to teach you that the world is real, and you know there's certain rules and you have to follow the rules, and if you follow the rules then you'll be okay, sort of, but the rules keep changing, so it gets very confusing because some people's rules are not other people's rules, and even if you do follow the rules, you might hit a point where you realize that was all, you know, the rules didn't work. The rules were designed to imprison you and enslave you. That often happens later in life. So it's a construct. You know, we're born into the matrix as slaves to it. And then, you know, the awakening has to come when we start questioning it and going, this is really unpleasant. It's unhappy. I'm suffering. Other people are suffering. And we ask these questions. Well, why is everyone suffering? Why do we suffer? Why do we age? Why do we die? Why does this happen? Why is life this way?
How do we detach from that system that we are all part of, like the system, the government I'm talking about?
Well, by realizing it's not real.
By
simply applying forgiveness simply says none of this is true. This is whatever you're perceiving is an illusion. That doesn't mean, you know, you on the level of form you might still submit a tax return. Depending
we all have tax. I mean, we all have to pay tax.
But do you make it mentally and emotionally? Here's the key. Do you make it mentally and emotionally, psychologically and emotionally real to yourself? That's the question. So you submit a tax return and it's just like, whatever, you know, it's not a bother. I just do it and be done with it. And I'm at peace. Well, then you haven't really made it mentally and psychologically real, have you? If you go, oh, this government, they're taking my money, they're all corrupt, and I judge it and I have all kinds of negative thoughts and feelings about it, then I've made it psychologically real. And I've confirmed then the reality of my separate self, which can now be threatened by the government, And I've confirmed the reality of guilt and sin and fear because I'm experiencing these things. And I've used the situation to confirm the ego rather than to free myself from the ego.
So that's a bit like me hitting the new car today. I didn't make it real, didn't matter, still at peace, and still felt fully connected.
Yeah. So then it's like, well, no, it's not really a drama. It could have been if you've gone, oh my God, I've just got a new car. Oh, what an idiot. I'm just so stupid. I can't drive, and then there's a whole lot of self-blame and all the emotions that go with that. Or you could have blamed someone else or, whatever. And then that confirms the separate self, Sally, and it confirms this reality in your mind. And you deny in that process pure formless awareness of perfect love, because that's disappeared now and you have another experience going on.
So how do you see this oneness with the government? I'm just trying to see.
Well, it's another reality. It's transcendent. Government and all the whatever's happening here, all of the authorities and controls and everything that's going on here is not real.
Yeah.
It's false. It's the ego's version of control and authority. And Yeshua said, quite aptly, when he was asked, well, should we pay our taxes? when he was alive, he said, well, render unto Caesar, give to Caesar what is Caesar's, and give to God what is God's. So he said, okay, well, money is, it's part of the dream, it's part of the illusion. So you can pay your taxes, but give to God what is God's, which is love and peace and joy.
Yeah.
And they're in different orders of reality. So you could still, pay your taxes if you feel so inclined, but without any ego identity strengthening. You're not strengthening the ego by doing that. Because you just haven't made it real. But if you resist it and you go, oh, this is bad, and it's what an evil system, and why am I paying these idiots? Politicians are stupid and messing up the country, and why should I pay? And I don't speak from experience because I've had all these thoughts many times. But you realize that that's making it real, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're now resisting it, and you've made it real in your judgment, and then you can suffer because of it, and you can feel like you're enslaved. You can feel like these authorities are controlling you, and you want to resist it, and you can feel unfairly treated and like a victim and disempowered, and on it goes. And that's confirming the so-called reality of your separate self, and denying that you are perfect, whole, complete, pure formless awareness of perfect love. So you see how it works. It's a construct. The ego's projected all of this out there, and it's giving you plenty of justification for denying love all the time. You can attach to so many things in this world that will deny this domain of God, love, oneness, pure formless awareness. And it seems to be the justification. When I had a kind of mystic experience about 1.5 years ago, just for a few moments, I went into pure formless awareness. That's why I came up with the name. It's like no thought, but I was aware. There's nothing going on, but I was aware for a while. It didn't last very long, maybe a few seconds, maybe a few minutes. I don't know. There was no time. And then, I came out of that, and then the Holy Spirit immediately sort of interpreted the experience for me. And it showed me that the entire world is a veil of illusion that's been pulled over our pure formless awareness, perfect love. And the only purpose of this veil is to justify all of the thoughts and emotions that cover over pure formless awareness. See?
To what? Can you repeat that, please? Do you mind?
So the only purpose for the veil of illusion that is this world is to justify the thoughts and emotions that are negative, that negate or deny or cover over pure formless awareness of perfect love. So the world is a justification for the mental and emotional veil that we've cast over pure formless awareness of perfect love. And we need the world, ego needs the world in order to justify the constant upsets and the various thoughts and emotions that constitute it, which then deny pure formless awareness of perfect love. So the external veil, the illusion of the world, is the projection of the ego's veil, which is the negative thoughts and emotions that it's made up of, that negate or deny love. And it needs the world to justify the constant upsets, the fear, anger, sin, guilt, attack thoughts, hatred, whatever it is. It needs something to justify that, which is why it's invented an external world. Otherwise, there's no justification for it. If you were just formless, no form, no world, what would justify these thoughts? There would be nothing to justify them, would be. I'm hating, but there's nothing to hate. I'm angry, but there's nothing to be angry at, because there's just pure formless awareness. So the two go hand in hand. What Yeshua understood, perhaps more clearly than anyone else before him or since, is that these are connected. The external world is totally connected to the internal world. The external world is the cause. The internal world is the cause of the external world. So if you look at the integral model here, this domain, the intentional, we decided we wanted separation. That is what caused our seemingly external reality. We literally went out of our minds and we projected this all out into a so-called physical reality and into a body. And everything we experience here is caused by that decision. One tiny mad idea of separation caused it, which was believed and believed again, and over billions of years, that belief has become so entrenched that we now think that we really are human. We're living in a body, in a separated world, and this is our new reality. And the inner world has been lost. We've forgotten that actually this is our home.
Yeah.
We're so used to this, so enslaved by our own beliefs in the form of the world that keep getting reflected back to us, that we've forgotten that actually that none of this is true, and that there is our true home still within our minds, that's there and accessible.
This is crazy when I think about this whole thing, because the situation that just happened, because like when I'm referring to the separation with my husband, when he was always telling me these truths, like he knows these truths. He always told me, to go inside or connect to the inner world, right? And not being affected or influenced by the external world. But it's crazy how everything unfolded to that mad reality, to that crazy, violent, mad reality. When you know this, but you're not applying or practicing what that awareness of love, or
it's application and practice, and that's the challenge.
Yeah.
Intellectually, theoretically, people go, okay, it's not real. I can kind of accept that on some level, sort of I can intellectually as an idea. But then, push their buttons, get them angry, and then ask them to accept it. And then they go, no, in the moment, I don't want to know. I just want to get angry, and I want to be upset and rage away. Because these emotions are powerful. The ego's these states of mind that it's invented to cover over the illusion are quite powerful. And it's got this whole system worked out where it triggers us to experience those, the covers over perfect love.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It is crazy.
It's crazy when the real truth, like the You have to be that awareness of love. Like that's the craziest part, where you know this is who you are and this is what you're out to be.
Yeah. So it's practice, practice, practice. In every situation, don't forget, remember.
Yeah.
That's why it's given us this detailed mind training, saying, look, in every situation that seems to happen in this crazy dream, you always have the choice to reinterpret it and say, it's not real. You have that choice, but you forget. And you say, I know you'll forget, but I'm going to give you some tools to help you remember. So you have a daily lesson, and I've, put some breath breaks together so you can listen to the breath break. And the idea is just to help you to remember constantly, especially when you get tempted, so you get a trigger, something comes in and you feel those emotions, the fear and the anger and the hatred and guilt and whatever else the ego's invented. That's when you need it to remember the truth. And in that moment, when you do remember the truth, that's forgiveness. That's the letting go then of the ego's thought system in that moment, and the acceptance now of love back into your mind. And that's how you undo it. If you do that progressively and systematically over and over and over again, then you're training your mind to accept another reality, another state of awareness. So it's very simple. I mean, it's a very simple teaching based on a simple truth, but to apply it in practice is extremely challenging, because you've got the setup of the ego and the world, and it's designed to trigger all of the negative thoughts and emotions that make up the ego. That's what it's designed to do. So you're living in a world designed to tempt you to believe in something other than perfect love, and now you've got to just believe in perfect love and deny everything else. And that's the game. That's what spiritual awakening is about. So can you forgive or let go? And if you can in any situation, then you're applying the teaching and you're awakening. You're on your path to awakening. And if you can't forgive or let go, and you're experiencing the negative thoughts and emotions, and you're dwelling in those, then you're choosing the ego, and you're choosing to remain in a separated state. Which is hell, the helpless, innovated little life of limitation, lack, loneliness, sickness, suffering, and ultimately death that the ego has invented for us. You then believe in that, and you're choosing that over this pure formless awareness of perfect love, which is your true nature. And forgiveness is the only way that you change your mind. Or letting go. So everything, every spiritual practice of any worth, it involves letting go. Meditation, you're letting go of the world temporarily, closing your eyes, you're going within, letting go of thoughts. Breath work helps you to let go, helps you to go within.
Yeah.
Conscious forgiveness, where we go, okay, I'm going to bring something up, and I'm going to release it. I'm letting go. So it's the one thing, it's the one common denominator amongst all spiritual paths. That's true. That like anything that involves letting go of thoughts and emotions that are not helpful is taking you in the right direction. That's what spiritual practice is designed to facilitate. Okay, so any other thoughts on that, Sally? Any comments, thoughts, questions?
No, not really. It's really interesting listening to it then.
Okay, shall we go into a meditation on it then?
Yeah.
We'll do the yeah, okay, let's do the meditation, then that's out the way, and continue to go, and we'll do the reading of the text afterwards. Okay, so just making yourself comfortable. Sitting feet shoulder width apart, your back straight, cup your hands in your lap. Close your eyes. And start off by taking a nice deep breath in through the nose. So breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises, and the subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. And you're clenching your sphincter muscle, locking the energy in, drawing energy up the spine. Into your heart center, put one hand on your heart to connect with your heart space. And then draw the energy all the way up into the crown of your head. Scan your mind and notice any thoughts, emotions, any related body sensations going on. Just breathe in again to all of that. So the breath is synonymous with spacious awareness. Just bring in the spacious awareness into your mind. Observe all of this stuff, whatever it may be, anything that's disturbing your peace. A little bit of anger, fear, anxiety, hatred, attack thoughts. Also notice the quality of these. They're negative, they don't feel good. Now you're going to just choose to let them go. So you exhale and just blow them out with the breeze of your breath, letting them go into the nothingness that they really are. You find a sense of peace, so you're just emptying your vessel, opening your mind to receive the simple truth. It's always been there, but it's always been obscured by the ego. So into this empty, quiet, calm space, you can allow these words to drop from the insert on today's insert, which Yeshua asks us to read before each lesson, is on what is a miracle. So he says, miracle is a correction. Does not create nor really change at all. Merely looks on devastation, reminds the mind that what it sees or what it perceives is false. It undoes error, but does not attempt to go beyond perception nor exceed the function of forgiveness or letting go. And so it stays within time's limits. Yet, paves the way for the return of timelessness and love's awakening. Fear must slip away under the gentle remedy it brings. So just let the fear slip away. Blow it away. And breeze of your breath. Just breathing in and out through your nose. Deep, slow, rhythmical, calming breaths. Observe subtle sensations of the breath flowing into your nostrils and then out of your nostrils. Just watching your breath to keep your mind in this clear, empty, open, spacious awareness, which allows you to receive these ideas and hopefully they just permeate into your mind. Just go a little bit deeper. So a miracle says Yeshua, contains the gift of grace. What is given and received as one. And thus it illustrates the law of truth the world does not obey, because it fails entirely to understand its ways. The miracle inverts perception, which was upside down before, and thus it ends the strange distortions that were manifest. Now is perception open to the truth? Now is forgiveness seen as justified? Now is letting go seen as justified? So just let it all go. When you let it go, from the peace that you experience, that letting go is always justified because it brings you more peace. So forgiveness, the home of miracles. Just keep watching your breath as you go through this process, realizing what forgiveness really is. Forgiveness is the home of miracles. So it's the dwelling place, the natural cause of miracles. Miracles are the change of mind. Forgiveness is the process of that change. So forgiveness or letting go is the home of miracles. The eyes of Christ or your true self deliver them to all they look upon with loving awareness, to all they look upon in mercy and in love. Perception stands corrected in his sight. Perception stands corrected in perfect love's sight, and what is meant to curse is come to bless. So each lily of forgiveness or thought of letting go offers all the world silent miracle of love. Each is laid before Word of God. The message of perfect love upon the universal foundation, the Creator, which is Source, and its extension, and the awareness of perfect purity and endless joy. So just breathe in again, nice deep, long, slow inhale, and just breathe in this awareness, this perfect purity and endless joy. To every pore, every cell, every muscle, every part of your mind, every fiber of your being is in the light of your true awareness. The miracle is taken first on faith, because to ask for it implies the mind has been prepared to conceive of what it cannot see and does not understand. Yet faith will bring its witnesses to show that what it rested on is really there. And so the miracle will justify your faith in it. And show it rested on a world more real than what you saw before, a world redeemed or transformed from what you thought was there. So it's all about changing your perception of the reality of the world. That's what forgiveness or letting go does, and that's what the miracle entails. True miracle entails a correction of your perception. So from a belief, interpretation of reality in this world as real, to questioning it, and then finally to letting go completely of any belief that you have in it. That's process of forgiveness or letting go. So miracles fall like drops of healing rain from heaven, the state of pure formless awareness, in a dry and dusty world, where starved and thirsty creatures come to die. So just do a little visualization now. Imagine in this dry and dusty world, it's a desert, and walking for days, extremely hot, tired, dehydrated. Ran out of water yesterday. It's been 24 hours since you had a drink. Your strength is fading. The sun is blazing down. Don't know how much longer you can carry on. And then suddenly you look up and see rain clouds gathering overhead, dark rain clouds, spring rain, and the wind gets up and you can smell the rain in the air. And then it just starts one drop at a time, just pitter patter. You hear it on the sand. You feel it on your skin, big, life-giving raindrops. And then it comes down, starts coming down harder and harder. And you feel it on your skin and smell it, and you can put your tongue out and taste it. And now it's coming down in a torrential downpour, and you're just in this miraculous life-giving rain. And you feel re-energized, you feel alive. There's water to drink. You're going to be okay, you're going to survive. And you give thanks for this miraculous rain. So now you have water. No longer starved and thirsty. Now the world is green. So the rain stops. You smell it and smell the freshness, and you walk a bit longer in this fresh mud. And then you come to an oasis and you see life, you see greenery and life, signs of life spring up to show you that what is born can never die. For what has life has immortality. So this life essence, eternal life, is always there. It's waiting to come into your mind and heal it from all the false beliefs and separation. So it's said, so it's done. So just keep watching your breath as we move into reading and contemplating today's lesson, which is 346. Today, the peace of God envelops me, and I forget all things except His love. I just breathe in on that. Feel like you breathing in the peace. Automatically comes when you let go and you surrender. Alternatively, you might say, today, the peace of perfect love instead of God envelops me, and I forget all things except this love. So just forget everything and surrender. And to help you do that, listen to these words, short commentary on the lesson. So Yeshua says, Father, source, my source, awake today. The miracles correcting my perception of all things. So begins the day I share with you, as I will share eternity. So as I do share eternity, because eternity is right now. I'm sharing eternity when you're in this awareness right now. For I've transcended time today. I do not seek the things of time, and so I will not perceive them. What I seek today transcends all laws of time and things perceived in time. Choose to forget all things except your love. Choose to forget all things except your love. So just breathe in, notice any thoughts, emotions that are not loving, related to people, places, events, situations, circumstances, related to the past or the future. You just breathe into all of it and then you're willing to let it all go. Saying, I choose to forget all of this. Today, the peace of perfect love envelops me and I forget all things, everything except perfect love. I'm willing to let go of, relinquish forever now. Exhale and just blow all of that away. Blow it all away with the breeze of your breath. So I would forget all things except your love. I would abide in you, choose to live in you, and know no laws except your law of love. And I would find, or I also choose, it's a choice, to find the peace which you give your extension, forgetting all the foolish toys I made as I behold your glory and my own. So just let go of all the foolish attachments to worldly things, the toys, the trinkets we attach to, things that money can buy. Our ego says we want as a separate self. Let them all go with the breeze of your breath. Instead, accept peace. I choose to find peace as you give your extension. Forgetting all the foolish toys I made as I behold your magnificence and my own. Magnificence lies within you. the deepest part of your mind, in this deep peace and stillness, feeling of unconditional love, transcendent joy. Therein the magnificence. So sink into that. And just remember for the next couple of minutes of deep silence, nothing but the peace of God. Remember that only peace is real. You can experience it right now. So nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, nothing else to think about for the next couple of minutes. Just breathe, relax, be still. Surrender into this deep peace within your mind by letting go your attachment to any and all illusions. The next 2 minutes of deep silence, just surrender to the experience of perfect love, which is your true source. So just gently coming back from this deep state of awareness into awareness of your body and the breath and the senses and the world. And on the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. So 1, just breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises. Subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Just pausing at the top of the inhale. Smile. Scan your mind once more, so just notice any thoughts, any emotions, related body sensations going on, and if there's anything there that feels at all unpleasant, unhappy, constricted, contracted in any way, tense, just blow it away with the breeze of your breath. You exhale, just letting it all go to the nothingness that it really is. It's going, gone. Pull the lower stomach into the spine. Notice how the air flows out, chest and the stomach suck back in, the energy raised up into the crown of your head, subsides back down. Front channel of your body coming to rest in your lower stomach and your groin. And the weight of your body pressing down into the chair, your feet touching the ground. Noticing what you feeling and touching. There's a subtle taste in your mouth, a smell on your nose. Notice that. Notice what you're hearing in the surrounding environment. Just noticing all these things. It's very still, calm, and surrendered state. And now on the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. Just take a minute to look around. So noticing objects in the room. Just let your eyes rest randomly on anything. Close your eyes briefly. Notice the state of awareness that you're in when your eyes closed, then you open your eyes. Nothing's really changed. It's still the same awareness there. When your eyes are closed and open. So you're training your mind to just be aware of its true awareness. And look around and notice that it's the case everywhere. It's nothing other than this awareness, really. If you're not naming, judging, labeling, interpreting all the objects, it's just the same underlying awareness with everything. Look at a few objects randomly for a few seconds each and notice that it's the same underlying awareness. So you're training your mind that awareness is the truth. And awareness is your true awareness and there's nothing else. So carry this awareness, this peaceful, loving awareness with you for the rest of the day. We'll continue on with our session now for another 20 minutes for Sally, and we'll let her know how long you have, but that's the end of the meditation. So let's have a look at today's Shall we have a look at today's lesson then? Okay, Sally, you want to kick it off? Read the original and then the alternative with the key idea, and then go into the first paragraph.
Today, the peace of God envelops me, and I forget all things except his love. Alternatively, today, the peace of perfect love envelops me, and I forget all things except this love.
Yes, any thoughts on that?
During the meditation, or not during the well, I went very deep in the meditation, and then when I came out, I was gritting my teeth, and I thought to myself, very loving, is it? Then tell myself, well, it's an illusion. That's not a body. You're not really gritting your teeth.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Gritting your
I
teeth.
wonder how that ties in with the lesson, because usually things that happen to me are tied in with the lesson of the day.
Hmm.
It doesn't seem very peaceful to grit your teeth.
Hmm. Hmm. Well, maybe just a kind of reaction coming back from this pure formless awareness into time. It's like, oh, here we go again. Back
Yeah.
in the illusion. Ah, it's kind of that stressing, straining, striving program, isn't it? Like, gotta like,
Yeah, it could be. Yeah.
sign, just maybe a sign of, so the ego coming back into the world, and
Back strong.
the idea is, the reason why I do that little mind training at the end is to maintain your peace even while you're in the domain of perception. That's what.
And I felt absolutely peaceful, so deeply peaceful, and then just vaguely aware of this physical clenching.
Yeah, that was just when you came back though from the minute. Yeah.
No, not doing it. Yeah, at that moment. And I think I do it when I wake up in the morning. I think I notice it first thing in the morning as well.
So it's just a sign of a bit of tension, maybe. It's like, okay, a bit of, right, I'm back in the vision. I've got to literally, grit your teeth. As I say, you grit your teeth, and you've got grit. What is that? It's like I'm determined, but it's not flow. It's not pure formless awareness by any means.
Okay.
So maybe you experience the contrast, which is useful. Contrasts are useful. You learn by that. Which do you prefer? They're like gritting your teeth, or just, just totally blissful.
Yeah.
There was a chap who he was teaching. He's a sort of personal growth teacher, and he said his message was be obsessed, and he had this picture of himself gritting his teeth and going, and I'm going, no, that's totally not. That's not what you want. That's not what you should be asking people to do. But obviously to him it made sense. Within the ego, it's like, right, the more obsessed you get, the more you got to want something and want it so badly that, and of course we know that's just creating suffering, needless suffering for yourself. Being obsessed over anything in this world is a path to suffering, not to freedom. But there's a lot of false teaching out there. It's simply not true. So you have to I always just check everything with the course. Does it align? If it aligns, then it's true and I can accept it. If it doesn't, then it must be discarded. There's some things that just you cannot fit into the course's thought system at all. Like they're clearly in contradiction. Well, then you have to let them go. And in yourself, you know what feels peaceful. Gritting your teeth and stressing, I call it stressing, straining, striving program of the ego. Triple S is not peaceful. It's not going to bring you happiness. And we know from scientific studies and so on that kind of stress is very bad for us. It's deleterious to our health and well-being, and causes all kinds of diseases and disease. It's the disease of the mind. And peace is the antidote. Just a deep peace that comes from letting it all go. As the quote today says, I found peace when I let it all go. Stop trying to understand everything and let it all go.
Yeah, I think it is that transition thing, because I've had that before. Yeah, only lasts a very short while, but it's a good thing to note, isn't it? Just another thing to let.
Yeah, if you could, that could be a little sign for you. Okay, if that's not happening, then maybe it's just a sign that you've let go a little bit more.
You mean when you try to understand everything or try to know everything?
Well, and,
No.
and understanding it, Yeshua starts off with understanding. He's talking about the world and our current understanding. He meets us where we are. The day I understood everything was the day I stopped trying to figure everything out. It's a great quote, isn't it?
Yeah.
The day I knew peace was the day I let everything go. So the intellect will take you so far, and he meets us in the intellect. He's okay, I know you've got these very active minds and got all these judgments and stuff going on. So that's where I have to meet you. But his course is designed to meet us where we are and then lead us by the hand out of this and ultimately help us realize that our intellect is a prison. And we're trying to understand the world. That's what we call knowledge. Knowledge in worldly terms is I'm trying to understand the world better, some aspect of the world. We have all these branches of knowledge which we label, we call this maths and this science and this languages and this art and whatever. And
we don't need that.
We're trying to study all this and understand it to get a better understanding, which would seem to be the ego's telling us that this is good. This is moving us in the right direction. Somehow all of this understanding and knowledge is going to help us. And Yeshua's saying, no, it's not going to help you. Because the more you understand about an illusion, the less you understand about the truth.
Yeah, so there's no need to try to know or understand anything, right?
No. So he meets us where we are. He's saying, okay, well, let's use this intellect you've got, highly developed intellect for most of us, and we're going to use it to start understanding the truth and start understanding the true nature of illusion, right? Because that's really how you understand the truth. And that's what this course is about, showing you what the illusion is, helping you to understand it better. So at some point you go, I realize just how confused I've been, and I'm willing to let it all go. I'm willing to stop trying to figure it all out and figure out the dream and how it works and try and find a way to make the dream work and realize the dream doesn't work and let everything go. And that's what the quote is saying. So he's kind of breaking our intellect, really. It's a path for intellectuals, as Helen Schuckman said. Eventually, you have to let go of that and go, my intellect can only take me so far. If I really want the experience that he's pointing to, this universal experience that transcends time and space of revelation, perfect love, pure formless awareness of perfect love, shall we call it, then my intellect's not going to take me there. In fact, my intellect's going to block me from that experience. So I have to let go of all of that and surrender myself to the experience. And interesting, because the scribe of the course, Helen Schuckman, was very intellectual, by her own admission. She even said, this is the path for intellectuals. Great. But she could not let go of her intellect, and that's why she couldn't ever embrace the course. She never had the mystic sort of realization of truth, because her ego mind was still too big. So the intellect will get you so far, and it's a starting point, but eventually you've got to let that go too. But fortunately, he gives us a path to work through it. He's saying, okay, well, you think you're so smart, I'll give you all these concepts and these lessons, and you can kind of wrap your head around that. And then at a point, you just kind of go, okay, well, actually, it's so simple. So all of that isn't necessary anymore once you've understood the truth. Such a simple truth. I've just got to let go of all of that and experience the peace of God that surpasses all understanding, as Paul called it. Surrender to the experience. And that's what we're doing with this course.
It's
the ultimate outcome is not greater understanding. It's deep peace. It's a transcendent peace that is not of this world. You can't really explain. Question?
Yeah, it's funny, when you were guiding the meditation in the desert, we were in the desert looking like the description you made was we were dehydrated, thirsty, And it's funny because here it's pouring rain. So,
Right.
so I was like, oh, thank you, I'm provided for this water. Thank you for the rain. I'm so grateful.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's just go back to the lesson. So Sally, if you can read the first paragraph kindly, just read it, your alternate original and then the alternate.
Father, I wake today with miracles, correcting my perception of all things. My source, I wake today with miracles, correcting my perception of all things.
Well, there you go. That's how the lesson's related to your gritting your teeth.
Yeah.
Because you wake up and you say, you wake up with that sort of gritting feeling. So if you can wake today with the miracle correcting your perception of all things, then that wouldn't happen probably.
It's been really interesting the last couple of days because I've been guided to watch a couple of films in the evenings. I don't usually do that in the week, and I was watching them really quite late in the evening, and it blissed me out. They were so amazing films, absolutely incredible. And then I'd wake up in the same state, absolutely blissed out and just fully embracing miracles and just seeing anything's possible. Seems funny you could have gritting teeth in the middle of that.
Yeah, well, maybe it's just a hangover from the ego.
Yeah.
So you must share those movies.
Yeah, I would love to know the titles.
Oh.
The first one was Super Intelligence. So it's an AI thing that discovered everything is about love.
Okay.
And then the second one was a girl that believes in miracles. And she had such strong faith in miracles, she was able to bring the dead alive. And she died and brought herself back.
Right.
So yeah, both very good. I highly recommend them.
Yeah. What was it called?
First one was Super Intelligence, and the second one's a girl that believed in miracles or believes in miracles.
The girl that believes in miracles. Okay. And what was you mentioned one the other day already? What was that one?
It was Miracles from Heaven.
Miracles from Heaven. Okay, so those are some, because every Saturday I send out a movie for people to watch. So it's good to have a
list
store of inspiring movies.
Seems to really work when you just ask to be guided. And these films just appear. Amazing.
Yeah. So the Holy Spirit uses everything for mind training to help us to awaken. So
trying to think if it was miracles or miracle. I don't know if there was an S. Let's see.
It's okay. I'll find it. I did actually find it.
Oh, yeah, miracles. Yeah.
Miracles. Yeah,
it's funny. I actually fell straight into the message, and it was so weird because it was a few days ago, but somehow my phone just took me straight to that message. It's a miracle. Really? A miracle.
Really? Well, yeah. So
oh no, it's actually
that's synchronicity, eh?
Yes. Oh no, it's actually
okay. Can we move on?
1,000 out of 10. I don't know if you know Dan and Teresa that holds the miracle miracle, they have the miracle network.
Yeah.
And they said it's John actually who shared the message about the miracles from heaven. We had a message from Dan and Teresa and to say they watched it and gave it 1,000 out of 10. Okay. I concur. I really enjoyed that movie too.
1,000 out of 10. Okay, it's definitely something I'll recommend it.
Yeah.
Okay. Sally, you want to carry on? So begins the day.
And so begins the day I share with you, as I will share eternity. The time has stepped aside today. Alternatively, And so begins the day I share. Oh, hang on, my screen's disappeared. Sometimes I haven't been using it for a while, if that's all. Number 2, and so begins the day I share with you as I share eternity, for I have transcended time today.
Yeah, so it's about rising above, going beyond time. Yeah, carry on. I do not seek the things of time.
I do not seek the things of time, and so I will not look upon them. I do not seek the things of time, and so I will not perceive them. What I seek today transcends all laws of time and things perceived in time. Same thing alternatively, what I seek today transcends all laws of time and things perceived in time. I would forget all things except your love. I choose to forget all things except your love. I would abide in you and know no laws except your law of love. I choose to live in you and know no laws except your law of love. And I would find peace with you created for your Son, forgetting all the foolish toys I made as I behold your glory and my own. Alternatively, and I also choose to find the peace which you gave your extension, forgetting all the foolish toys I made as I behold your magnificence and my own. Beautiful.
It's which you give. So I made it present tense. Peace which you gave, no, which you give your extension.
Yeah.
So it becomes very present, and the choosing, instead of I would, it's making it conscious. This is a choice to forget all things, forget everything except your love. That's really what radical forgiveness means. Simple, but to do it is challenging for our minds, because we've invented all this other stuff, got very attached to it, and we think it's all real. And now we've got to forget it all and go back to the start, the foundation of who we are, in which none of this exists. And that feels like death. The ego is convinced that's death, because it's the death of its identity, and it's the awakening to who we really are. Okay, so any thoughts on that?
Felt really lovely reading it, especially the alternative.
Choose to find the peace. Behold your glorious magnificence. So there's a magnificence about this presence when you connect with the deep peace and love. There's something. Again, words don't really do it justice, but there's something in us that feels that, and then we have a word called magnificence or glory to try and describe it. Okay, and then Aurelie, just if you can read the last paragraph, it's very short. For us, when the evening comes today. Can you read it?
When the evening comes today, we will remember nothing but the peace of God. For we will learn today what peace is ours when we forget all things except God's love.
Yeah, and then read the alternative.
And when the evening comes today, I will remember nothing but the peace of perfect love. Perfect love.
Yeah, which has a nice sound, doesn't it? Peace of perfect love.
Yeah.
It's the peace kind of.
Yeah. For when I forget all things except for
Pure formless awareness of perfect love.
for when I forget all things except pure formless awareness of perfect love, I will learn today that peace is mine. Oh, you changed the whole sentence there.
Yeah, I just made it first person.
Okay.
So it's more powerful, you know. I forget, because in the end that's what it comes down to. It's your own at one-ment. So when I forget all things except pure formless awareness of perfect love, I'll learn today that peace is mine. So he's asking us to let everything else go, forget it, even though we're living in it. But don't give it a reality in our mind.
Yeah, I've got to pop off now. Thank you ever so much. See you tomorrow.
Yeah, okay. Thanks, Sally. What time tomorrow suits you?
We've got a session in the afternoon together, haven't we? And then
Oh yeah,
you've got your evening session.
We've got a 7 p.m., haven't we? Yeah. So we're going to do a masterclass, which will be doubling the session, and I'll see you at 4:30.
Lovely. See you then. Bye.
Okay. Thanks for joining. Namaste. Okay, so that's the lesson done. Yeah, Aurelie, what's your timing like? Do you have to go now, or
Yeah, I need to check. I need to check on something I had to do this afternoon. Yeah.
okay? So we could, if you have an hour now, we could stop recording and we could do a one-on-one if you like. Or we can just do it later.
Yeah,
What's your thought?
Yeah, I guess I could do the one-on-one because I mean I don't know what time. Yeah, I guess it's fine.
Okay, we can jump into that if you want. So let me just stop the share. So we'll end the session now, everyone. Thanks for joining. To Sally, and join us again tomorrow. There's a masterclass at 7 p.m. UK time. That's 8 p.m. your time, 9 p.m. South African time. So hopefully see you then. Namaste.
Namaste.